What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another episode of the What Now Show. I am your host, Suryansh Basu-Malik, and joining me today and firstly, it's been a while, ladies and gentlemen. We've been gone for a while, but we are back, and we're back with something amazing. We're here with the Ultimate Fighter 29 winner. He is a bantamweight. He almost made it into the UFC back in 2017. It wasn't the best, but his journey became a whole lot sweeter when he got his victory recently. He's a UFC fighter now. Ricky Tercios. Ricky, pretty Tercios. It's a pleasure to have you on, my brother. How are you?
Hey, thanks for having me on, Suryansh. You know what I'm saying? Hey, so we're out here chopping up on the podcast, ready to have a good time. You know what I'm saying? Here like that.
Hell yeah.
Pop, 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 pop. Let's go.
Hell yeah, brother.
Nice head movement.
Hell yeah.
Solid.
Solid head movement. I saw it on your fights, my brother. And honestly, Ricky, first things first, thank you. You're the first fighter that's ever been able to say my name right on the podcast. So thank you. That's a quick little informal award to you right there. Hell yeah. Already achieving things, big things.
Nice.
We're gonna first off, congratulations on winning the Ultimate Fighter. I mean, I'm sure it's been a whole experience being on that set, meeting so many different fighters. You had so many of your own teammates who at that house as well. So could you explain to our audience a little bit about what the experience was like in the Ultimate Fighter house? Like, what was the vibe back in there? We saw you meditating, chilling, training, and you saw a lot. What was it like?
My goodness. Man. Yeah, it's good that we chopping up on the podcast like this for sure. Man, the whole experience, bro. I could definitely go into some details, I guess, right now in this type of scenario. My goodness. Like, if I go into the harder portion, the being away and disconnected from the rest of the world, I believe that was the craziest part of the whole experience and the most unique part of it. I could remember it'd be funny. There'd be times when we're driving on the bus from the house to the gym. It's all we're going. We go to the house to the gym, back to the house, back to the gym, back to the house, back to the gym. Same thing every day, the same routine, right? And it'd be funny, like some little things, like we're peeping out the window of the van, and then we're like, "Oh, look, there's people there. Oh, that person has a dog." We're like, "Hey, normal people," you know what I'm saying? Like everybody out there just doing their normal lives at the gas station. It's like we're driving on the same road. We just got on this road for 5 minutes. We get to the gym, you know. But like we'll see the people at the gas station or somebody driving or somebody's got their little puppy in their car and we're like, oh, you know, it's other humans, but we were so disconnected from the whole world, you know. So that was the one of the craziest parts, I would say, like that, man, on the Ultimate Fighter experience, is like having no contact with nobody, no television. We don't know what's happening in the news, you know what I'm saying? Even though, you know, that's another topic in itself. It was so like that was the craziest part, I think, was the no communication, no nothing. You know what I'm
So
saying?
when you made it into the semifinals, you were allowed that one phone call to your father, something very emotional. It was an amazing moment to see on camera when they recorded it on the episode, when you had the entire camera crew around you. Was that the only time you could talk to anyone else outside the house?
Exactly. That's why that made it a little bit. That was what put that twist in it, and a good little like it made for good, heartwarming moments for the viewers on camera. But for me, the fighter, you feel me, the person, and all the other semifinalists who also got to make that phone call those days, whenever, like when they revealed, they're like, hey, we're gonna give all the semifinalists a free phone call. We were like, oh my goodness, like it was such a great surprise, such a great like little you get like basically a victory phone call for making it to the next round, you know. So being able to call my dad, that was such an incredible moment, you know. Like in that time, that was what it was, like May something. It was like the last week of May, because we left on the 20th of May. So that could have been maybe like May 17th, May 16th, something like that. A couple of days prior to the last fight in the house. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, being able to call my dad was so great. You know what I mean? It was great for my spirit. You know what I mean? Great for my dad and the whole family, because he was able to tell my mom, my brother, my girlfriend, you know, that, he had gotten to speak to me. You know what I mean? He got to tell my elders, you know what I mean? My grandparents, my aunts, my uncles, you know, everybody knew that I got to talk to my dad. and it just sent me good energy, good vibes, and everything like that. So it's like incredible moment, like to actually talk to a family member again. You do this after we've been in isolation for 6 weeks again, and we don't
Yeah.
have nothing. We don't. It's a weird, like, it's a little mind game thing. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? Like, y'all literally put us on, oh, like the Truman Show. Have you seen this movie with Jim
Yeah, yeah.
Carrey?
I
And
have,
then
yeah.
like the cameras are like always following his whole life like this, Jim
Yeah.
Carrey on the Truman Show. So it's like some weird Truman Show type thing because these
Yeah.
cameras are always following us, and we're in this isolation. They literally tell us every day, oh, go here, all right, like, oh, stop, go. All right, stop. You know what I mean? Like for the littlest thing, when we walk into the gym, that's like the stuff you don't see behind the scenes. Like the camera people, like, okay, wait in the van. Hold on, gotta wait another minute, 2 minutes. The camera's not ready yet, and go, walk out, walk. Like what the? It's crazy. So being able
Yeah.
to talk to my dad, it was good. You know, especially being in isolation. I'm so happy I got to talk to him, and then like, you know, that was great for my spirit, you know. But I'm glad too that we got to share a moment like that on TV forever. You know what
Hell
I mean?
yeah.
So like, it's like a movie, man. The whole Ultimate Fighter experience, it was like written like a movie. And like for me and my dad to have that type of moment, you know, it was just great to share that. You know, many people got to see it all over the world, so it was very heartwarming for sure. I'm glad.
Yeah, I was
Memory
watching
forever.
it. Yeah, I was watching it. I was thinking to myself because if that was the first time you got to speak to your family, it must have been an amazing experience. And can you, and something that was really interesting, you know what? First things first, that is probably the largest. I thought I had a huge water bottle, but holy shit, that's huge. Yeah,
Yeah, I gotta stay hydrated, bro. You know,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
right.
Yeah, so I mean, all of this happened back in like May, right? So I mean, wasn't it a little interesting after you were done at the house and you got to go back after you were done with your semi-final fight and you could have your camp leading up to the fight that you had last week, which you won. So what was the experience like knowing that you've done all of this and it's all gonna come down to this big moment and barely any of the world knows so much of what's already happened because these episodes are coming out very periodically and then eventually people are realizing what's happened and then boom, finally you realize it's Ricky Tercios and Brady Highstand competing. One guy gets the contract. I mean, it must have been pretty like weird for you to see everyone slowly realizing what's what throughout that period. Were you able to access social media at that time?
Question. Um, you're asking like in the moments after the semifinal fight,
Yeah,
correct?
after the
And
semifinals.
yeah, so like, yeah, on my social media, they told us when you're using the social media, be aware to not post anything that could be spoiler related, you know? So
Mhm.
most of the time when I would be posting on social media, because I obviously we did the first round and the second round in May is when all that was filmed, you know? And then literally May 20th was the day of the semifinal fight. Then the very next day, May 21st, we're back on the plane, we're going home, and I'm back home in Houston again, you know? So yeah, like pretty much from when I got home, you know, was just continuing the training process leading up to the final fight. And that the one that took place at the end of August right now, you know what I
Mhm.
mean? But I knew the whole time, yeah, like I knew I was gonna have to fight Brady. I was developing my game plan and my strategies that I thought would help me in the fight, you know. And I just kept it all like, yeah, I just kept it all inside, you know. I knew I was just happy that I had won. So I was thankful for that. And I had the knowledge in my brain and I didn't tell anybody, you know, other than I just kept the secret like that. And then watching it all play out, that was something very surreal in its own, seeing how like everybody was getting to watch the episodes on a week to week basis, but I already had all the information in my mind of all the results and having to keep it a secret. It was crazy. And like, you know, it was also a blessing being able to watch the fights with my family. That's the only time you're ever going to do that. Like, fight a fight, then it's a secret, then you got to go watch it later or like a month or two later. And being able to watch, you know, episode 6 with my friends and family at a watch party, being able to watch episode 9 with my friends and family at a watch party, and all the episodes too, you know, were really cool. Also, you know what I'm saying? Like watching them every single fight, like watch the story develop and unfold. You know, we were pretty much having watch parties every week. You know, and then that was so fun. And then like we would, but obviously whenever everybody got to see the fights that I had won, I was like, oh man, it was a blessing because I was like, hey, I won those fights, and then that made me have to. Then I got to earn like the day that we got to have fun too and watch it again we were all there with happy memories like that. You know what I mean? So I was glad that I'd won those fights so we could later in like the month of June during that episode or the month of July watch like those, watch to have that happy type of moment. You know what I'm saying? Me and my family.
Yeah, man, that's got to be amazing. I mean, the entire experience of, being outside of that entire environment, coming back and finally seeing as your loved ones could appreciate the work that you put in on live TV, on national television is amazing. And you walk me through how it was like being on Team Volkanovski, right? When I'm sure there was a lot of things getting heated up in the back between the two coaches. You could see all of that through the episodes. When you were in the house, was a lot of this something that the directors wanted the coaches to get it all hyped up a little bit, get everything heated up, or were these guys just eventually just trying to build up a bit of intolerance from one another because y'all began at that 4-0 slump and then y'all came back on a four fight winning streak. So it was a pretty amazing rise that y'all suddenly had. So was there some like actual intensity between the coaches, or was that something a little more fabricated?
Yeah, I would say, you know, there was definitely some tension between the coaches. I think Volkan Ortega, they kind of got into it a couple of times, and it was real. You know what I mean? Like Volk was speaking his thoughts in his mind, and then Ortega, then he was saying what he was saying as well. Maybe there was like a time where maybe like some of the other coaches, the assistant coaches from Ortega's team, may have said some things that didn't fall too kindly on the ears of our team, on Volkanovski's team. You know what I mean? And then y'all see the scene, Michael Chesa, he chimed in on that day. You know what I'm saying? He chimed in on that day talking about, hey, Paul, because that was disrespectful or whatever. Don't be making fun of the fighters or whatever. They got that whole thing. You know what I mean? So, all that drama like that. Yeah, that was for the TV. That was good for the TV, I guess, too. It helped, show some of the things that happened in the moment when it happened. Like when it happened, it felt real for sure. It wasn't fabricated like by any of the producers, like behind the scenes or anything like that. Like it really happened. Like somebody said something, you know what I mean? Then over here somebody says something back, and then boom, 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 boom. Now everybody was talking smack to each other like that, and that's pretty much how like that happened like that. Hey, it is what it is. It happens like that. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just people, they just speaking words like this, you know what I'm saying? But Ortega and Volkanovski, they're gonna settle it inside the octagon for
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
So I'm excited. I'm gonna
You
be there
think
for
you
that
think
fight.
Coach Alex is gonna win that, or you think Ortega's getting this one?
Of course, yeah, of course. I think Coach Volkanovski is gonna win the fight. You know what I mean? If I could go ahead and like say something on that too, like I mean, man, like as far as to like the coaching staff on the team with the Volkanovski boys, right? Like the experience, like something I would love to talk about in the sense was
Yeah, I was
one
gonna ask you
reason I
that.
believe that one thing that Volkanovski I think is gonna be able to get the victory. One of the keys to victory for Volkanovski, I think, is going to be his conditioning and him being in such incredible shape. That's going to be a huge one. You know what I'm saying? Like in this fight with Ortega, like when we were training with the boys, they had put us through some of these conditioning regimens, and my goodness, like the regiment they were putting us through, the two ones that were the most difficult, they put us through the fight simulation, and that's when I
Spider.
saw that one. Say it again.
Was it the spider drill that they have going on?
I asked the exact same question of Volk right before, on the very first day when we were gonna do it. All right, it was Thursdays. Thursdays we did the conditioning, and he's like, "Hey, we're gonna do this conditioning." I go, "Is it spider? Are we gonna do the spider?" I love the spider. I do this. I do like the spider all the time, like in my training at the Gracie Baja at the gym. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Something similar. I seen it on YouTube.
Yeah.
On the Israel Adesanya channel. Have you seen that one? That's what
Yeah,
you
that's
saw it as
exactly
well.
where I already do. That's exactly where I got it from.
Yes, exactly. Man, I love YouTube content. You know what I mean? But yeah, so I like the spider. So I asked Bono, "Is this spider we're gonna do?" He goes, "No, it's not spider. It's called fight simulation. Fight gone bad is what it's called. So it's a whole nother drill. But it's so like the spider, they probably got more like kettlebell stuff, more like rubber band stuff, more equipment with the weights. I think. but with the fight simulation, all of the conditioning drills were all martial arts based. You have like a grappling guy, and then you got a guy that's trying to you've seen it, you know what I mean? I had
Yeah,
like
yeah,
Craig
because
Jones grappling
I
me on jiu-jitsu. Then I
exactly,
got Coach Frank
exactly.
over here wrestling me, you know what I'm saying? Then I got Volkanovski punching me, I got hit the pad, everybody's yelling, and it'll push you to the darkness, you know. And I really enjoyed that regimen. We would do it every Thursday, and I'd be hitting him more, you know what I mean? I can't reveal all the stuff on how we were doing it, you know what I mean? Like the intervals and things are like, but it's just about pushing yourself, you know what I'm saying? For real, you got to keep pushing yourself, and that'll get you in shape for sure. And that was really enjoyable, man. I really like that one a lot with the Wolf Boys. Keep up with it now, you know what I'm saying? Later, and now even back home, I was still doing it.
Yeah, because I was thinking about it earlier because in right after his second fight with Max Holloway, I spoke to coach Volkanovski's coach himself, the grand coach, if you will, Joe
Yeah,
Lopez. He was there
yeah,
with Alex and the stuff. He came onto the podcast, and I asked him about Spider, and then he said, "Yeah, we have a couple of drills," and he told me about the exact one that you mentioned, fight simulation, where it's something that they have going on both at Joe Lopez's gym back in Australia, and even at City Kickboxing where Izzy's at. I spoke to one of their guys, Cameron Rouston. He was in one of Izzy's videos recently as well. So it's basic. Yeah, they were talking about how they basically absolutely break you down and make you drill every core of mixed martial arts, from the jiu-jitsu to the stand-up to the kickboxing, making you defend yourself, head movement. They can make you work everything. So that must be, I mean, the toll that must be taken, because I saw some of these videos and I see how like drenched everyone is after practice. I'm sure you guys were sore the day after all of that, right?
yeah. And that was a good one too. Like you saying, we were sore the next day. We were sore the next day actually, and you know, we were very sore the next day. And a lot of it too, then it helped build our mental fortitude. That one was really, really, really good about that type of drilling, because and the Ultimate Fighter experience all in its own was like having a drill on this world championship caliber regiment. We're sore the next day. We still got to go train, because if you want to be a champ, you got to train like a champion. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And that's how we were doing it. Learn like this from the championship squad in the Volkanovski boys like this. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Joe Lopez. You know what I'm saying? Shout out to Volkanovski. Shout out to Craig Jones. You know
Craig
what I'm saying?
Jones.
Shout out to Coach Woody. Shout out to Coach Frank Hickman. Shout out to Colby Thickness and my boys. You know what I'm saying? So like, man, they were pushing us. They were pushing us to the limit. And but yeah, again, it built the mental fortitude more than anything, because you're sore the next day, but you still got to go to practice. You learn too that your body actually can heal from it physically. Make sure that you're doing all the ice stuff, the hot therapy, you're
Yeah, yeah.
stretching. If you do all that and you're eating right and you're drinking all your stuff and you're taking your supplements, if you're doing all the right things like this, your body's going to be able to recover. It's going to come back stronger the next week. You know what I'm saying? And dude, that conditioning was important, bro. We needed that for sure. Like pumping the chest every time. That drill also, not only did it test your physical conditioning, but then are you able to have cognitive listening functions like this? And like when they're saying, do this, oh, do this, do that, you know what I mean? And they're yelling at you, you have to be able to still be moving, keeping your hands up, you know what I mean? Pumping the shots when you need it, you know what I mean? Defending the takedowns and still
Mhm.
being able to move while you're fatigued and while you're under stress. And that's why that drill was so well. I love that drill for sure.
Exactly. And that brings me to my next point about, the comparison between the drills, how your coaches were training you. Something the Ortega corner kept insinuating during the episodes was that, Alex is very lackadaisical. Alex was a little lackadaisical. He wasn't as involved with the fighters as Ortega said he was. And that's something that was a bit of a disagreement about back during at the Tough House. So my question to you is here, that when you were training, how closely tied were you with the coaching staff over there? Were they late trainings? And even after the semifinals, in fact, did you talk to Joe Lopez, Coach Alex, and did they help you formulate the game plan that you had going into the Heiston fight?
Great question. Yeah. yeah, like, if anybody said they weren't involved, they're probably just talking smack or something. You know what I mean? Not because like the whole team on the Volkanovski squad, they were so close with us. You know what I mean? We definitely, me and all of my teammates, you know, we all became very close. You know what I mean? And then as well, all the coaches, we all became close too. We were all working together, through the whole process. And that was what was most important, was working together, the teamwork, make the dream work. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
How were we doing it? Like putting the game plans together. You know what I mean? From they were studying the tapes, you know what I'm saying? We come back, we're formulating the game plan. I give my insight, the coaches, they give their insight. I was thankful that they had enough confidence in me as well to kind of let me like freestyle some of the moves and the scenarios like this, and then like that was cool. But then they put their insight too. And I was happy to have like been able to, in the small frame, like a couple of weeks preparing for the first fight. And then I only had 14 days to prepare for the next fight
Mm-hmm.
after in the semis. And the things that they were drilling for my game plan specific, and the things that we were drilling, just the general knowledge for the whole team, oh man, it was really great stuff, from the grappling to the stand up, you know what I mean, to the wall stuff, and I was able to apply it like in that short amount of time. We drilled it over and over and over and over. Like the way that they organized the practice helped with that, so that's why they were good coaches too, because I think that, yeah, I'm a great student and I can learn and like apply something. So that falls on me, right? But then as well, I believe it also falls on great coaching also. So like
Mm-hmm.
that I was able to make those adjustments on 2 weeks for this fight and 2 weeks for the next fight. That's cool. Like that's on me being able to look with my eyes, listen and feel with my body. But as well, that's also on them as the coaches,
Yeah.
being incredible coaches, giving that information to us and caring so much about me and all the guys on blue team, so that was really cool. There were great coaches like that. And then yeah, after the fights were done, like, and we went back to the real world. I didn't get any help like in the sense of like there was no game planning for the Brady like that from Volkanovski and them boys, because obviously they weren't gonna do that, you know what I mean? But Volk did call me and stuff like that, and we got to talk for a little bit. Like he was on Australia time, I was on Houston time. It was like 2 a.m. for me.
Oh, he's
I
back
was
in
like, oh man,
Australia
but
now.
come again.
Alex is back in Australia now.
Yeah, he was there when he called me. I'm pretty sure he was in Australia. I think he was. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then it was cool. Like it was like 2 a.m. I was still up, and he hit me up. He's like, "Yo, Rick, you awake?" And then it was 2 a.m. for me, and I was still up. I was just chilling, doing nighttime stuff on the weekends. And then I was like, "Oh yeah, call me real quick." And then we FaceTime. It was like a week before the final fight. You know what I mean? And or like 2 weeks before the last fight. And then he just gave me more just general advice. About like the diet, and then like things to expect fight week coming into the thing and everything. And just gave him his best wishes. And that was something great from Volkanovski. That too itself like shows how like involved they were and how great of a
Yeah.
coaches they were. You know what I'm saying? So I really appreciated that, Volkanovski hit me up and everything, and we got to chop it up a couple of days before the fight, because it just good little things like that put you boost your spirit up a little bit. You know what
Mhm.
I'm saying? And
Yeah.
so man, it's great, man. It's incredible.
Yeah, certainly. And it's great because I was when I spoke to his coach Joe Lopez, he was telling me about how involved, and I spoke to some of his teammates as well. Arlene Blenko, she's I think number one ranked featherweight in Bellator. They all spoke about how Alex is a bit of a leader in the gym. He's helping multiple guys out. So it was pretty weird to hear that what the Ortega guys were saying. So yeah, to your point, I think it was a little bit of smack talk. But tell me more about this particular last fight, right? You had the semifinal fight, already a slugfest. You had to recover a lot. I'm sure you were tired. You were hurting because of the. I mean, whenever you take a blow to the face, it's gonna pain. So after the fight, you had to heal up the bruises, make sure your body was fit again to train, so as to make sure you weren't too overworked while you were training. So how was this whole period transitioning back to the real world, because you're finally getting back into contact with what you used to remember as normal? So you had to get back in touch with the news, you had to get back in touch with your family, your friends, your girlfriend, you everything back at home, and then you had to resume your training regimen like you used to before the Ultimate Fighter thing happened. So throughout this whole process, how what was this whole transitional period like? Because you had to get back into your normal and then begin to work insanely hard for this, for what you achieved this last week.
Yeah. Yeah, the transition period. If I could say a couple of things, the transition, there was a transition period. I made sure that, like, if I could speak about it right now, like, you know, some of the positives that came from it. Because yes, the house changed me, you know, and I made sure that when I left the house, some of those changes, they bled in to my, normal day-to-day life. But so that's something that was like the transition. What were some of those things that were, some things that changed for me, that kept going right into the real world? I mean, one simple thing was journaling. You know what I'm saying? So, like, I never journaled before in my life. This is the first time I would journal. Like, I write some notes here and there, but like, so I got like literally my whole book written now. Like, I got like the whole book of
Ah,
things like this.
that's
And
what
it's,
you had with you. Yeah.
yeah, so I got my whole, like, I got like all of the notes, like so many notes like written. Like, I would write my notes sometimes on my iPhone, but it's a little bit different. I like putting it on the paper now. You know what I mean? In the house, see, because in the house we didn't have we I had to bring the book because obviously it's more old school like this, and obviously we didn't have anything. So, like, I got to bring my journal, and that was something very meditative to do because it's called alone time. I had a lot of alone time in the isolation of this house. Sit down in your thoughts and just think about what makes you tick in your mind with no distractions. That was incredible. You know what I mean? Yes, it was crazy, kind of psychotic. You know what I'm saying? But it's important to do that, I believe, too, and just in your normal day-to-day life. You know what I mean? You got to have you time and me time. It's important to do that, right? So, like, that was one of the habits that bled into my normal life now. That was like, I was journaling in the house, doing my meditative thoughts like this. When I got out of the house, I made sure that, hey, man, stick with that. Those habits that were kind of weird or whatever. Not weird, it's not weird, it's just something different I was
Yeah.
doing, right? And then, like, I was like, this is good. Let me keep doing that, right? So that was something that bled into my normal life. Was now I'd be journaling more, and I'm more in tune. I'm more in tune with myself. I'm more in tune with my thoughts. What am I feeling? That's the what I'm trying to say. You know what I mean? And I think journaling and having that time, and let me sit down, let me put all my stuff away. There's another thing, right? Like, I learned how to pretty much, I didn't need the TV anymore. You know what I mean? I don't got to be on my cell phone all the time. You know what I mean? I don't got to be playing with my technology all the time because I had so much time without it. So that now, like, there'll be times where, like, oh, I don't, oh, it's cool. I don't want to watch a movie. I'd rather just, go just sit down and talk with my people, whoever it is. Like, oh,
Yeah.
you want to watch a movie today? And I'm like, no, I don't really want to watch a movie. How about we just sit back, have some conversation, crack some jokes or something, or like maybe some of that. I still watch movies. I love movies
Yeah.
too. I still watch TV in my animes, but that's just like a way of, like, okay, maybe, like, things were a little bit different when I was in the house, and I came back. I was, okay, oh, okay. I could appreciate the silence more. You know what I mean? So if today I don't want to watch a movie or watch anime, I can appreciate more the silence of sitting down alone at the desk, writing in my journal, meditating on my thoughts. You know what I mean? Things like that. So that was some of the things I'll share that bled, or that was one or two things that bled into me leaving the house and coming back into the real world. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when it did come to taking these habits in and taking them in towards the fight, what was that whole period like? Getting used to. I mean, you did bring back things that you would use again in normal life. That's something that any human would have as they go through any experience. They take something forward with them. You took through your journaling, a certain type of work ethic that you developed over there. So what was it like breeding that into your daily life back in the real world, and get back into the gym and begin to train? Because I'm sure there'd be a lot of people in the gym. Hey Ricky, how was stuff? Hey Ricky, how was this? Hey Ricky, how was that? While after you came back from Vegas. So when you had to get your work in, was it difficult getting back to your normal again, or is that something you were able to blend in with really well?
Yeah, good question. Yeah, I definitely believe I was able to, blend it in well because it was, I guess, as I can describe it, as you go to the next level. So I was a certain level when I went into the show. I was already feeling high level. You learn, you continue to progress, and the things that I learned from, the physical stuff was able to apply that now into my new training regimen, and you can just push yourself harder. Like it's always going to be difficult. You have to push yourself in training now because you're better. Now that just means you can push yourself harder to keep going even beyond that. You know what I'm saying? So like it's always still going to be tough, but you just get tougher and now you can go harder. You know what I mean? And then like that's on the physical stuff. The training was incredible. And then back again to like the other like invisible stuff, like some of those things I learned in the house. Another one I'll mention was like, that's outside of the punching. But another thing that I learned more about in the house was like the breathing technique. That was a great one. The Wim Hof method. Shout out to that boy Wim Hof. But
Yeah.
the deep breathing techniques and meditating like that. Now that's another habit too, right there, that I'll share, that I practiced in the house. That when I left the house, that bled into my real life, or bled into my day-to-day life now, and back in the real world, and that helped me with my preparation. So like being able to know, like, okay, I can push myself harder now in my physical striking, jujitsu, my strength and conditioning, you know what I mean? But then like, oh, before the practice starts, let me sit down and do my breathing methods and open up my lungs. Let me sit down and meditate before the practice starts for my 15 minutes, get my lungs opened up with the deep breathing, the
Yeah.
meditating, get myself focused, dialed in, more focused, more dialed in. You
Yeah,
know what I'm
because
saying?
yeah.
Or after. Go ahead.
Yeah, so it's exactly what you were saying. As I did watch the series, something that everyone did concur about you was that you were the very spiritual guy. You were always in touch with yourself, and you made sure that you kept your mental state at your paramount interest going into it, because mind over matter, is it's popularly said. So so did you develop this little habit to get in touch with your spiritual self, back into your soul, through this whole period? Did you learn to meditate and journal while in the tough house, or is that something you began to practice before you came into the house, and you just took it to a whole other level, being in such isolation, and you know you had to tap into yourself because you don't want it to go to a darker place?
Yeah. It was definitely from what you're asking, the second one, like, in my years, I've always done my best to be very, you know what I mean, spiritually in touch with myself. That's the internal, right? So like I always practice like the meditative techniques, and then writing on my journals, right, like this. But and then like as well, like, all my other practices too, like this. But yeah, it was the B one though, because like when I got to the house though, I had to do it to the next level and really tap in to the next level. So I went 3 times, 4 times fold in the house, like even for example, like if I would meditate, this is an example. Like in the past, if I would meditate, I would sit down, I would be thinking on my thoughts, right? You know what I mean? I'd be thinking that's good, you know what I mean? I sit down 20 minutes, 30 minutes. What you doing? You're just chilling, meditating, right? But for sure, like before I went into the house, it was literally like 4 days before we went into the house. I was doing YouTube learning. It was literally 4 days before we went to the house. I went on the YouTube learning and I saw the Wim Hof method, and I added that breathing technique to my regimen. But like now I'm going to do that breathing technique for the rest of my life. I literally just learned that though, right there before I went into the Ultimate Fighter house. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
that was an example of like, I just went in. When I went into the house though, like I did it 3 times fold, 4 times fold, and like added all these new things from like, okay, I'll be meditating. Now I'll be meditating, but I got some breathing techniques too. Oh, I'll be meditating, thinking on my thoughts, but now I'm being more conscious of it. I write my thoughts down on paper too, to be more detailed about it. You know what I mean? Those are some of the practices that I literally learned right there, hardcore in the house. Hey, it even got recorded on television. People saw me when I was really making a jump like this on TV. You know what I'm saying? That's kind of cool. But I still, now it's like those are practices. That's a habit now that I'm going to be doing for the rest of my life till I'm an old man. You know what I mean? So that's how I learned something new. People got to see it too on TV. That's what's up.
Yeah, man, escalating it to a whole other level. So tell me something. You did mention that you do maintain this journal while you were at the Tough House, and that's what I want to talk about a little bit more now that you bring it up. You have it in front of you. So as you were going through this entire tough process, I'm sure after everything was said and done, you've looked over this journal quite often. You've looked back at what you've written before to get back into the field of this is what it was like on day one or day two or day three or day X, Y, or Z. So, is there something that you may have not remembered that you later read and thought, shit, this was what I was thinking in that period of time? Holy shit, wow, this happened. Is there something that's in that book that you can share with us or read it out for us that you wrote at that time, the author himself, Ricky?
You a boy, Surya. Yeah, bro. I mean, man, dude, yeah, there were many times where, I wrote something down. I was like, oh man, that's crazy. That's crazy. I wrote that down. You know what I mean? And like, in this moment again too, like I can remember. I'll read like a small excerpt right here from the passages, right? But like, in the moment, I can remember, and we were all dealing with it. Many of us were in there, dealing with. We're all in there dealing with the emotions that comes with this isolation. So then, like, you write your thoughts onto the paper. You know what I mean? Like, I was in there. I had my journal. Many of my boys had my boy Vinny. He had his journal. You know what I'm saying? And that's my dude. Shout out to my
Yeah,
boy Vinny.
Vince
That's
Murdoch.
my
Yeah,
guy.
yeah.
Yeah, my boy Murdoch like this. Like they didn't show any of us. Like we were roommates and everything on the show. They never showed me and Murdoch doing any of the funny things we were
You were
doing as
almost gonna fight
roommates.
each other, Ricky.
Huh?
Ricky, you guys were almost about to fight each other. Y'all
Yeah,
both
I
got into the
know.
semifinals, and Ricky and Volk and Ortega agreed that these guys are friends and they can't be fighting together. We don't want that to happen. And then we see the episode just showed how they switched that up and got you with Brady and Murdoch with the other.
Yeah, I know. That's pretty wild. Yeah, I'm glad. I'm so glad me and Vinny didn't have to fight each other for sure. That's my boy, dude, for sure, man. We've been great friends for many years, me and Vinny. You know what I'm saying? And so, like, man, through the whole show, we like. That's why I wish they would have showed a little bit more because, man, we did so much together, me and Vinny, from like, you know, him telling me great words of advice from Vinny, and it like really touched my heart because see, that was an incredible thing was having Vinny there in the house. It was such a great moment of comfortability because really Vinny was the only person in the house that was like a piece of the outside world for me. You know what I'm saying? And they never showed any of me and Vinny's relationship. They never even once mentioned that me and Vinny are teammates in Sacramento at the Team Alpha Male camp. With me and Vinny, I can
You
remember.
know who Vinny gave me the vibes of, for some reason, because of the tattoo and everything, the hair, he just reminded me a lot of Cody Garbrandt. I'm
Yeah,
sorry,
hey,
but it just did.
that's funny. That was, I mean, we be training together, and they both tatted up. Maybe that's why you got the vibes like that. Like it's like we all funny dudes, man, for real. Like it's great, the great friendship between all of us for sure. And
Yeah,
like, yeah, they on the Ultimate Fighter, they never, really mentioned much about me and Vinny's friendship, which I get it. They only get 45 minutes on the episode. It's
yeah.
all good, but I'm gonna say a couple real quick. Like, I can remember like like from the very first day, me and Vinny were roommates, and then like I was so sad. I really wanted him to be on blue team with me, but it was all good. We were both on our paths and we both were still in there shining, you know what I'm saying? So it's all good. But like, there were days where like, like your spirit, it goes up and down, man. You're in there, it's like it's a mental battle. And my good friend Vinny, he was in there as a good friend, as a guide to help like with the comfort like this, you know what I mean? Because like that's a piece of home that was with me, you know what I mean? Like we are away from our homes, but Vinny was a literal piece of home that came with me to the show, you know what I mean? And we were there, talking about our hopes and dreams together when we were in the room, you know what I mean? Or we in the backyard chilling, talking about the pool, talking about our hopes and dreams, or there were days where, cutting the weight, man, we were in there cutting weight. They didn't show none of that, but I'll tell about it, man. All that weight cutting, I was in there helping him out. I had some easy weight cuts, so I didn't really need too much help. You know what I mean? My weight cuts were pretty easy, but like Vinny was cut weight, man. I was in there, with him the whole time, helping him. He needs some ice. Oh, you need this, you need that. All right, let's go sit in this tub. All right, let's go get in this Epsom salt bath, get this weight off. You know what I'm saying? And like, then on the final days, he gave me some like really strong words of encouragement leading up to the semifinal fight that really took a big weight off my shoulders. And like Vinny was an angel like this for me. He had the words that he spoke from his heart that I needed in those moments. And man, it was very powerful for me because again, it's a journey. It's like this, it's an emotional roller coaster. That's what the Ultimate Fighter was. So to have Vinny there along my side, man, that was great, man. Like we were already great friends going into the show, but now like that's an experience that me and Vinny gonna have forever for our friendship. You know what I'm
Hell
saying?
yeah,
So
man.
hey, love you, Vinny. You know you my boy, bro. Feel me?
I'm gonna
So, yeah.
send as soon as we have this up. I'm gonna hit him up and send him this link. It's Ricky shouted you out. Give him the timestamp and let him listen to this as well. So
Let's go. I'll
hell
read
yeah,
that excerpt for you. Let me
yeah.
read this
Oh
one
yeah,
for you,
perfect.
okay? Let me see. I got
All
this
right,
one right
ladies and
here.
gentlemen, before he does it, now I must add, ladies and gentlemen, Ricky Tercios is no longer just a tough champion. He is not just a UFC fighter or a mixed martial artist. He's not just a teacher, but he is an author as well and a narrator. Hell yeah.
Yes, I appreciate you, serious. Yes, hey, you know, hey, I'm just cranking out all the moves. You know what I'm
Hell yeah, man.
saying?
You need a hype
All
man?
right,
You know who to call.
yeah, hey, I appreciate you, bro. All right, I go like this. Oh man. All right, this is a whole page like this one. So I'll read like this paragraph right here.
Yeah.
Okay, this was this one I wrote like I read a date on this one. This was around you know May, yeah, the middle of May, probably like around the 10th or this is after the first round fight.
Yeah.
This is though leading up to the semifinal fight. I'm sore. I think in this excerpt, you know what I mean? Like I was just banged up and I'm banged up from the first fight. That's what it was. I'm banged up from the first fight and I'm going into this semifinal fight. I'm like, oh man. But I was writing some notes I was writing some of these notes like this one. I'm gonna share it right here. Okay. Let me see. Some dot dot dot. You know. Yeah, it said if not one of the most grueling tests of my whole life. Right. I'm strong though. My mind and spirit keeps pushing me. I have gone beyond my limits to a new place. I'm a changed man. This place has changed me. I'll never be the same again. I have a deeper understanding of myself. I have been here in isolation alone for so long. I have dove deep, deep into the confines of my soul, and I have grown tremendously from the inside. I am Ricky. I'm also the fighter known as Hadouken. I realized on a deeper level that I was made for this. I chose this life. I molded myself for this life. Perhaps God put me here on this planet to fight. Or perhaps God put me here on this planet to inspire and help others. Maybe both. I have learned to live in this darkness, in this isolation, in this pain, in this cold space. That's one of the
That's
excerpts right
amazing.
there.
That's amazing, bro. That's
Bro,
that's actually poetic. I mean the fact that you had the energy to write that much and write that well is actually phenomenal. I mean, personally, I'd recommend you to, maybe I mean, you're going to be going forward. I'll talk about that in a sec. You're going to be a star someday, and I honestly think keep that book handy. I mean, one day maybe you could show the world that this is what Ricky Tercios was, and this is what Ricky
yeah.
Tercios is. I mean, it's really something. The reason why journaling is so important and documenting your thoughts was so important to me was because, it helps you keep a track of who you are, who you were, and who you think you will be, and it digs you back to your roots. It brings you back to where you came from, and you realize this was the core. This is what I'm born to do. This is, as you mentioned, and it re-energizes you, if I may say so myself, because it gives you that direction that this is what I am supposed to be doing. So whenever anyone does lose their track, I think going back to one's journal entries or anywhere one's documented their thoughts, whether it's in a video or a book like you've written yourself, it helps one get back to where they were wanting to go. What do you think?
Very well said. No, it literally, you, everything you said, Suryansh, that was, yeah, very accurate, I believe. You know what I mean? And like, from some of the parts right there, we said, like, oh, you go read back on it, and you're like, oh, that's how I was feeling in that moment. Like, and it gets you get to re-see it like this. You know what I mean? See what you were feeling. It helps with your learning process, learning about yourself and stuff. So yeah, I definitely, I agree with you what you said on that. You know what I mean? I'm glad I wrote some of these things down because yeah, like I get to look back on it, on the thoughts and all these things. You know what I mean? Later in the future, I could show my family like this in the future, or like you said, maybe write a book, or even right now on the podcast, I got to share a little bit with you. You know what I'm saying? I'm glad that I got to do that. You know what I mean? Making memories like that. You feel me?
Yeah, yeah, I completely feel you, brother. So let's move on from Tough, right? Tough was, to be honest, stage one, right? Ricky, you've broken out and you're the UFC fighter now. I looked you up on the UFC site. You were there, Ricky Tercios. The stats are up, everything's up. A lovely picture of yours. But isn't that just the beginning, Ricky? Because what you are up against now is, probably the most stacked division in the UFC. People are talking a lot nowadays in the MMA media scene about how the lightweight division is this stacked place, or the heavyweight division with Cyril Gane is getting stacked up, and there's a lot of competition. But from Aljamain Sterling, Peter Yan, TJ Dillashaw, Cody Garbrandt, Corey Sandhagen, I mean the list just goes on, man. But yeah, you're ahead of this really stacked division. You've begun your ascent into the UFC. Everyone wants their little path to break through. So as you mentioned, whenever you need to go through these spaces, you need to get yourself in the mindset, and you need to visualize it a little bit. And to quote Luke Rockhold before Michael Bisping interrupted him, you have to believe it, and then you gotta achieve it. Before Bisping went and asked him to, what. So, uh, so when you do look at yourself in this division, how, I mean, of course, you don't want to directly go and challenge Aljamain for the belt, even irrespective of how impractical that may sound. How do you want to develop yourself in this division?
Great question. I would say, like, how do I want to develop myself in this division? If I could keep it simple, you know what I'm saying? I would definitely, if I could keep it simple, you know, the vision is to always continue the ascension process as the martial artist, keep getting better in all assets, right? Whether it's got to be the physical, and that's like the strength and conditioning and the athletics, and then as well the grappling and the striking, you know what I mean? And all the other arts that come with it, and how we're developing as an all-around mixed martial artist, and that's the challenge that I face right now at this moment as I continue the ascension process to get to the next level. As now, keeping it short term right here, like what just happened, just got out of the first, just got out of that finals fight. You know what I mean? And that was my first official win in the UFC like that, right? And now I know I got all the challenges ahead of me, because the bantamweight division is so stacked. And you know, when that time comes, I face those challenges. You know what I'm saying? Right now, as I continue, right, it's all about just continue improving as the martial artist. I mean, it's always been like that. It's always in the journey. There's the martial arts journey. That's why it's so fun, right? And but I got to keep it going now. Keep improving. Keep getting tighter. It's always that constant battle of just, hey, I could always do it better next time. Getting 1% better, 1% better, learning more, and that's the process, man. You know what I mean? Having to learn new techniques, and then you're drilling it. How am I gonna figure it out to really make this part of my game now? This specific striking technique that I'm using, you know what I mean? Or this specific grappling technique that I'm using, or
Yeah.
oh, let me keep pumping that iron and keep getting, faster, stronger. Okay, can you keep running fast? Can you keep getting quicker like this? And all those development. That's the journey of the martial artist like this. You know what I'm saying? As far as in my martial arts life, so like yeah, that's how I see it right now. Continue to continue to grow in all assets like this, and let's go and take on these challenges that come in the future.
Yeah. So do you think so? As far as your little, let's call it a little mind map or like a journey, so to speak, for how you want to progress. You like, I'm sure you have like a picture in mind of like how many fights you want before you get to the top 15 and the top 10 and the top 5, and then eventually where you want to go next. I mean, the sort of the unnamed gatekeeper for the this division was Sean O'Malley. Sean O'Malley right now, he isn't ranked. He's technically just waiting to break his way into the rankings. There's a Sun Sao, Chito Vera, and all these other guys that you're gonna have to get past to make your little name cemented into these contender positions. So how early do you think you want to get there? Do you want to bide your time, bide your time, and prepare, watch this division grow yourself, keep fighting, and eventually build up your momentum? Or do you think you're already at a level in which you want to just ram through them?
Great question. How do I feel about this? That's a great question. Look, hey, Suryansh, I say it to you like this, bro. Hey, look, whenever my next fight, when it gets announced like this, it's gonna be a surprise. You know what I'm saying? But I
You're
tell you, it's
announcing
gonna
it here, my brother. You're getting on the podcast and you're
be.
telling me you got an announcement for the public, and then you're blaring it out to the world.
Yeah, for sure. So hey, when the day comes for the big fight, and I'm sure everyone's gonna be like, "Bang!" It's gonna be crazy, bro. So stay tuned. I guess you know what I'm saying. But right now, continuing the training. You know what I mean. But for sure, I foresee challenges for sure in the future. You know what I mean. The fighting, the martial arts, it's always a challenge, bro. You know what I mean. And especially in mixed martial arts, dude, it's so crazy because mixed martial arts, it's almost like anything goes, bro. Anything goes. You know what I mean? There's punching, kicking, grappling, and it's like, dude, this like you could do all these crazy things. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy, bro. So it's like, man, I look at it like some anime, bro. It's crazy, man. There's so
What's your
many
favorite
different
anime?
challenges.
What's your
Come
favorite
again?
anime?
My favorite anime. I mean, I love many
One
different
Punch
ones.
Man.
Obviously, number. Some come again.
One Punch Man, baby.
I love One Punch Man. Yeah, that was a great one, dude. Season 1, season 2. Oh, that's a good one, dude. For real. It's like that one. It's got good comedy in it. And he
Yeah,
literally
yeah.
just every time just boom, he just
Oh,
destroys them, bro. I'm like, oh my gosh. My favorite's Dragon Ball Z for sure.
hell
I
yeah.
love Dragon Ball Z. That's a classic. You know what I mean? For many people. You know what I mean? If on some stuff that's recent right now, 2021. Just last night, I finally started watching
Attack.
Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh, hell yeah, hell yeah.
So that's a great one. Another favorite of mine is that one I just started 2 days or last night. I started watching that one. But another fan favorite that I liked, obviously, off of not the fighting so much, but it's Attack on Titan. That's a great one. You know
Attack
what I
on
mean?
Titan. I was just
Shingeki.
gonna tell you. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm a fan of that one. You know what I mean? Shonen animes. You know what I mean? Some stuff that's more recent. You know what I mean? I'm a fan of Hero Academia. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
I'll be watching that one. Mob Psycho. That was a great one. Came out a couple of years
yeah.
ago. Um, was another one. Parasite. I'd watched that one when it came out many
I
years
don't think
ago.
I
That was a
saw
great
that.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah. So like, my goodness. Yeah. There's a. Oh, you know, I gotta mention the whole Naruto series. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
Naruto and Shippuden. So like, man, some classics, bro.
yeah.
My goodness.
I mean, it's this whole thing, man. Like, even like, I haven't watched much of Naruto, but whenever I see like Izzy, for example, do the little hand things, and then he puts his hand back up, and then I don't know. It's so weird, but it's so smooth, those transitions. Yeah, but anime is something I've been watching for a while, and it's really cool to see. Like, whenever I've spoken to some of the fighters, a recurring theme is a lot of them are into anime. Most fighters seem to be into anime of all.
Yeah. Some of us got it like that. You know what I mean? It's cool. Maybe they're very inspired as well by it. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? I know I am. I was inspired by watching anime as a young boy, using your imagination like this. You know what I
yeah.
mean? And you see them on the shows, and then they're in there they're doing their fighting and stuff. They're shooting fireballs, things like that. And for sure, that had a huge influence on me being a martial artist. Even after my fights, I make sure I shoot the fireballs at people too. So it's fun, you know.
I'm gonna save that fireball for the very ending of the podcast, and I'll tell you why when we get to it. But I'll leave that as a surprise. But for now, I want to get to know. I think even the people want to get to know a little bit more about Ricky Tercios, not just as a fighter. I want to know, how did you build up your interest for fighting? Who are the few fighters that you looked at and go, shit, I want to be like that guy? Or
Yeah,
what influenced you to start training at Team Alpha Male? You've gone to an amazing gym, you began teaching. Like, where did all of this root from? I mean, everyone has their root or roots that they get this influence from. You spoke about how anime influenced you. What else has really served as something very impactful in your life as an MMA fighter?
yeah. You now, hey, you asking the real questions, Suryansh. You know,
Yeah, yeah, gotta
that's
wait
what
for
I'm
the
talking.
right time, gotta wait for the right time.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Some of my biggest influences, like, you know, I can remember as a young boy, I'll say George St. Pierre was one of my biggest influences that I looked up to in the UFC. I mean, as a young boy, I watched already UFC since I was a kid, man. So that really helped spark my interest in martial arts. You know what I mean? Not just anime and watching like Dragon Ball Z, but for sure like watching UFC. I was like 8 years old, 7 years old. You know what I'm saying? And me and my family, we were watching UFC. We had like this thing. It was like a box. You know what I mean? It was back then. You get like this box, and then you plug it into the cable to the back of the TV, and then you get like free pay per view or something like that. Like it was like a Dragon box or something, or like
Yeah.
I forget what it is, something like that, like a breaker box. And you get it from like Asia. You get it from like the Philippines or something. I don't know,
Yeah.
but and we'd have the UFC, and we would watch the UFC. You know what I mean? And I remember even my pops would like grab an empty VHS tape, put the empty VHS tape in the VCR, hit record, and we would record it. He'd record the whole thing on a VHS tape. You know what I mean? Like old fights. You know what I'm saying? Some old Matt Hughes versus like I remember like when Matt Hughes picked up Carlos Newton, and then he like picked him up and he took or yeah, and he slammed Carlos Newton. You know what I mean? Or whenever like
Yeah.
Matt Hughes fought Frank Trigg and he picked him up and he
You
threw
picked
him.
him up
He
across the
ran him
octagon
all the
and
way to their
bang.
side and slammed him.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you feel me? Um, old fights like that when Ken Shamrock fought Tito Ortiz in the rematch, in the double rematch. They had their whole
Chuck
rivalry. Chuck
Liddell versus
fights.
Tito Ortiz, the first fight. Chuck Liddell versus Tito Ortiz.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Like, and then Chuck Liddell, he had the green shorts on. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or no. I'm
Yeah,
tripping. I said no. Chuck versus Tito. Yeah, and then
yeah.
Chuck like he TKOs him. The one I said at the green shorts, that was Ken Shamrock. When Ken Shamrock had the green shorts, they had their whole rivalry. Ken Shamrock versus Tito. Randy versus Chuck Liddell. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? These are all classic fights. But so watching UFC as a young kid, that influenced me big time for sure. And George St. Pierre, he was my greatest inspiration. He's my favorite fighter still to this day. George St. Pierre is, you know what I'm saying, and that sparked my interest big time for sure as a kid.
Yeah, I mean, so then tell me more about. I mean, we spoke about how Ricky Tercios became the author. You went and journaled while you were at the TUF camp. We know about George St. Pierre, how you watch fights with your family to get into MMA. But what about the teaching aspect of it? You're dispensing your knowledge through jiu-jitsu at Gracie Baja, and that's the third that completes this triangle of what we know about Ricky so far in the world today. So what
Uh,
got Ricky into teaching?
yeah, hey, I appreciate you, bro, for real, man. Yeah, it's a passion of mine. I'm so happy. I'm so thankful to be able to teach each and every day. Like I wouldn't be doing anything else. Like my goodness, it's like you know, y'all see how much passion I have inside the octagon
Yeah.
when I fight. My gosh, I literally bring that energy that is brought into the octagon with the ferocity and the blood and everything and then the punching and the kicking and the grappling and the heart, all that ferocity that I bring into the fight inside the ring and in the octagon. I have that same exact energy for teaching. Like, oh, I don't know which one I like more. You know what I mean? Obviously, fighting, I must do this. I love it so much. You know what I mean? The competition is so crazy. But
Yeah.
like as well, I love the coaching aspect though. There's something so special about it because you're helping others. You know, I'm helping the children. I'm giving back to the kids. And one, giving back to the kids and my students is great, but even teaching the adults too and helping them out as well. I love teaching the kids. I love teaching the adults. I love teaching, bro. And it's definitely one of my passions, man. I'm such a I'm a nerd for the game, and I'm happy I get to share my passion with other people too that are also interested as well, and help to be a good example and guide them as well. And man, in another life, I said that if I in another life, I said I probably would have went to school and been a school teacher. Maybe I would have went to school and been like an English teacher or something like that, or maybe I would have went to school and been an art teacher. You know what I mean? But I'm thankful that you know, I freaking got to become a martial arts teacher, a martial arts coach. And I'm so happy for that. I'm gonna do that till I'm an old man. Like that's what's the crazy part. You know what I'm saying? Like so I'm very happy about that, man. The way I got into it, I guess I always did my martial arts. And then when I was 17, I just started coaching. Like I was like 17, had a couple of amateur fights under my belt in Muay Thai and in MMA, had won some amateur titles, you know what I'm saying, in the IKF and on Legacy, you know what I'm saying? And then I started just coaching too as well. So I started coaching a little bit, coaching the kids and stuff like that. I pretty much just been doing it ever since, you know what I mean? So like, yeah, I started when I was 17-ish, and then yeah, I've been always coaching ever since, man. It's incredible, bro. It's definitely one of my life passions for sure. And
Yeah, yeah,
I'm just
that's
so happy
amazing.
to do that.
Yeah, I got amazing respect for teachers. I mean, it takes a lot of energy to do what teachers do, and that's something I really love to do as well. I mean, I don't have enough knowledge to be a full-fledged teacher, but if there's something I really do want to be doing, it's teaching. And yeah, that is amazing to see what you're getting at, because that's something I can understand and relate with. So far, Ricky, we have the triangle. We know the teaching, then we know the teaching, we know the fighters aspect of it, and we know yeah, we have the teaching, the fighting aspect, and I lost my train of thought. There's the third one
Was
too,
it
the
the
author.
what
The
inspired me?
author. The author. Right.
Yeah,
So
the
is
author.
there so far to the word, there are these three things, Ricky. Is there a fourth or a fifth? Is there anything else that the world should know about you that they don't know already?
Mm, mm. Go, hey, bro, let's go, Syria. Hey, look, okay, you're going over here, the fighter, the teacher, the author. No, look, here's how I'll tell you right now. No, this is what the world really needs to know. What they really need to know. I'm gonna say it right here on your podcast right now for the
Hell
first
yeah.
time. Okay, let's go.
Yeah,
Oh,
boy.
shit. Look, man, I'm gonna share a childhood memory.
Yeah.
Good. I'm gonna do it. When I was a kid, I remember all the time when I was a kid, I used to say this to my family all the time, and I put this childhood like memory or this childhood dream to the back of my brain. I never talked about it again, but now it's back.
It's time, baby. It's
It's
time.
time, bro.
Yeah,
Yes.
boy. Bruce Buffer got
Uh,
nothing on this. It's time.
but look, when I was a young kid, I used to always say to people, "Hey, what do you want to do? What are you gonna do when you get older? What are you gonna do when you get older?" I would say
Yeah.
things like, "Hey, I want to be an actor. I want to be an act. I want to act. I want to act." And this is the joke I said on the UFC interview I did the other day. Look, when I was a young boy, I would be like 12 years old, 13 years old, and there would be weekends where one weekend I did a taekwondo tournament. You know what I mean? I went to the convention center. We doing a tournament, do some do the forms. You know what I mean? Then we do the sparring. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? We fight. Then there'd be the next weekend. Next weekend I go and do a theater arts tournament. So like, oh what? So it'd be like back to back weekends. Do a theater arts tournament one weekend. I had a taekwondo tournament the weekend prior, and you know, yeah, and then how do I finish this real quick? And I would even keep it like that. You know what I mean? Oh, and then when I got a little bit older in high school, I got to high school. Then okay, yeah, I had to kind of make a decision because then you're a little bit older now, and you're kind of like, okay, I had to put the acting to the back burner because I was gonna spend all of my time now in high school on wrestling for the wrestling
Okay.
team. So it's like you can't do
You gotta get
wrestling
the face
team
hurt.
and also be committed to theater. And I'm doing plays. I would do plays all the time. I would do theater competitions. I would do the plays. All right, that's fun. It's like some nerd stuff you're doing like down as a kid,
Hell
but it's
yeah.
fun,
No,
bro.
man,
I
I
loved it.
do plays as well. Hell yeah, that's the shit.
Let's
That's the
go.
shit.
That's my guy. I even
That's
been
the shit.
one time, bro. One time I even did theater camp for a couple of weeks, and it was in like seventh grade. You know what I'm saying? Seventh grade, and I played Octavius on Hamlet. You know what I'm saying? So the
Hell
play was
yeah.
Hamlet. I was Octavius on there. I was kind of cool, whatever. But anyways, long story short, like I've always had an interest in the theater and in the acting like this too. So like I keep making that joke. Hey, look, I'm trying to make some martial arts films, bro. Let's do it. You know what I
Hell
mean?
yeah,
And
man. The
I
next
might
Bruce
even make some
Lee,
of
man.
my
You're
own
the next
content.
Bruce Lee.
Oh, I humbly say thank you, bro. You know what I mean? If I could do even 10% of what Bruce Lee did, he's such an inspiration. If I could even do just 10% of what he did, bro, oh man, this would be
But
incredible,
but
bro.
yeah,
Because
guess
for sure
what?
he's one of the
That's what so many fighters are doing now. I mean, look at
mm,
Michael Bisping. Look at Luke Rockhold. I mean, look
mm,
at look
mm,
look at so many of these fighters. They're getting into cinema. Rose Namajunas, Joanna Jacek, Cody Garbrandt himself.
mm.
He's done some shooting as well. So I mean,
Yes.
over time, I mean that's something you can get into as well. I mean, your face doesn't get too you don't get beat up that much when you're in your fights. You've had some wars, but you come out looking pretty most of the time. So I think
Those.
the face still looking good. So
Oh, thank you, bro.
get into,
Thank you,
you
man.
can get into theater.
Yeah, like for sure, because that's one of those secret ones like that. People would ask me, they go, "Hey, what are you gonna do?" I said, "I'll do acting maybe one day when I'm older." You know what I mean? But I was doing martial arts, and then I love martial arts, bro. You know what I mean? It's like around freshman year, then I just put the theater to the back burner, and I just I was doing wrestling, jujitsu, you know what I mean, Muay Thai, Taekwondo, like that, and everything, and but now I think maybe I'll do something for fun. You know what I mean? But I say like things like that. So that's another aspect there.
Hey man, if you're gonna get into a film, you need an extra to be, just the guy you're beating up. I'm volunteering, baby. I'm
Hey,
volunteering.
I got you, Suri. I feel you, bro. Fantastic.
Hell yeah, baby. Take the opportunities as you get them. So,
Right.
Ricky, it's really so now we got a rectangle. Ricky, we got a rectangle. We have the actor, we have the author, we have the fighter, and we have the teacher. That's four. We might just
Wow.
find a fifth one by the time we're done with this. So,
Yeah.
so tell me a little bit more about Team Alpha Male, right? You're training there, you're regular there. I mean, there's been a lot of stories coming out of Team Alpha Male. You've got champions, you've got all of this little drama that's been spewing out. Well, one main piece of drama that we're all knowing about, I think you can guess it already as I'm about to mention it, the whole TJ Dillashaw, Cody Garbrandt thing with Uriah Faber and all of that stuff. I mean, I don't want you to pick sides here. Is the like? When I spoke to you and I saw Team Alpha Male there, I just had to ask, what happened?
Hmm. Good question. I'll be real with you. I can remember from just my own personal memories, I can remember whenever I pulled up, I got to um, whenever I remember pulling up to the gym, it was July of 2015. So that was whenever I made the move to Team Alpha Male in Sacramento, and I remember I got there, and that was kind of ready whenever TJ was already out the door. I got to train with TJ maybe for 2 weeks, maybe, or something like that, and then next thing I knew, he was gone. He was going to go do his own thing. You know what I'm saying? I think it was like something like that. Like he was getting paid to go train at Muscle Farm or something like that. I think it was something in that neighborhood. Don't quote me on it, but I think it was
Yeah.
something like this, And but so I only got to work with TJ for a couple of like maybe we sparred maybe 2 times, maybe, you know what I'm saying? He taught, and then that was about the only interactions I got to have with TJ during the time, you know what I mean? So yeah, I got there July 2015, you know what I'm saying? That he was kind of gone already by then, and then like man, but I can remember those old memories like that, you know what I mean, on the blue mats with the Team Alpha Male squad, and like man, like getting like from the very first day, I remember I pulled up to Coach Joey's boxing class on the Saturday. On Saturday, we spar. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
Saturday we just go boxing spar. And I remember I just pulled up. I was a new guy, and I go, "Hey, excuse me, coach. May I hop into this session?" You know what I mean? He was like, "You got 16-ounce gloves. You got a headgear. All right, come on, let's go. Hop in." I was like, "All right, bet." And then he just threw me in there with the dogs. You know what I'm saying? And then man, we were in there. Bang, 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 bang. We were banging, you know what I mean? Hey, shout out to my boy Eric Sanchez, you know what I'm saying? Because I remember Coach Joey, he put us in there in the center, and then me and Sanchez, we just threw down, you know, in front of everybody. Everybody was watching. Coach Joey, I remember he goes, "I want to see blood. I want to see it." And I was like, oh man, he was intense, you know, and we threw down, me and Sanchez did. We had a great training. We went hard in the paint, and the round was done, you know what I mean? We dabbed each other up. We were like, that was good training, you know what I mean? Coach Joy was, "Hey, that's what's up." And from that first day, you know what I mean, I was going hard in the paint, you know what I mean? They were in there, we went hard, you know what I mean? But I knew I'd pass that test like that, you know what I'm saying? And great memories, you know. Another memory real quick, I remember in the very early stages back then, I remember freaking he spinning back kicked me right in the chest, right in the stomach. I was like, oh, this guy, he threw it spinning stuff right to my gut. You know what I mean? He didn't drop me with it, but I was like, man, it hurt me. I was like, golly, this guy, he was just trying to spin and throw hard kicks at my stomach, Vinny was. You know what I'm saying? Oh man, there's some good memories. That was like some of my first interactions with Vinny. I remember he just like spun on me and kicked me in the stomach. This guy crazy, you know. But like I can remember those first moments, like that's early memories. And everybody was like pushing it, you know what I mean, like this. And I was the new guy like this, and like you know, everybody really liked me. I was a great guy, and I was in there working hard. You know what I'm saying? So like, I definitely blended with the team real quick. You know what I'm saying? Got in there real quick like this because I was in there working hard. You know what I'm saying? I remember like freaking who else was it? Cody was still on the come up. This is before he becomes world champion. He knocked out like you know, Almeida. He knocked out a couple of dudes. You know what I'm saying? Josh Emmett was not even in the UFC yet. He was still on the come up, but he was undefeated. Emmett was undefeated. I was undefeated at the time. You know what I'm saying? We had a whole bunch of undefeated dudes come on the come up like this too. You know what I'm saying? But you know, I have my homie Sandoval over there. But like, you know, it's good memories like this.
Yeah, man. Alpha Male got some killers. I mean, there's so many different techniques. You guys are so versatile. I mean, with the kicks, with the elbows, you're just going like off with all of what y'all are throwing, man. You're just going left, right, and center. I've watched some of these fights. Cody Garbrandt against when I saw Cody Garbrandt against Dominic Cruz, dancing all the way, chucking elbows, chucking knees, head kicks, moving around and go like just slanging and banging. I mean, it's just amazing seeing how that played out. And you know, it's pretty cool. So then that reminds me, you know, speaking of techniques, before I do move on to this next question, I had to ask you, you know, from your last fight, from your last fight card, you know, you saw Khalil Roundtree make that oblique kick, get an oblique kick finish. It was the fight before yours, I think, that Khalil fought, and he oblique kicked his opponent, and he instantly fell. I forget his opponent's name, and that was the fight at the end. Just that was the fight, and a lot of stuff has been coming out recently. It's been a lot of backlash since even like when Rose Namajunas fought Jessica Andrade, she got slammed on her head, and there was this whole thing about, you know, banning those slams, or now people are talking about, you know, banning oblique kicks or knee stomps. So I wanted you to weigh in on this. You're a fighter. You've been in the ring often. You know the risks of it. You know what you're getting into. So when you are getting in there, do you think that maybe banning knee stomps, maybe, you know, getting rid of the technique itself would fix the issue? Or do you think that people just have to get used to it and move forward? Because when I was thinking about it, you know, I thought this stuff is career threatening. I mean, if you're getting hit at the back of the head, people block shots to the back of the head. They block 12 to 6 elbows. So is there any reason to block that type of a kick? Ban that type of a kick?
You know, yeah. I feel like with the kneecap kick, you know, yeah, I believe it'd be too hard to change the rules of MMA. The rules are already written so deep already, you know what I'm saying? And the unified rules have already been, you know, we've been fighting in the unified rules, you know what I mean, for so long like this, you know, like it's pretty much almost anything goes, you know what I mean? Like what are banned techniques? You can't eye poke, no groin shots, and then no 12 to 6 elbows. And obviously you got to watch out for this one, you know what I'm saying, for the back of the head. Other than that, I mean, everything else is pretty much going down. I mean, you can go heel hooks. Heel hook is so dangerous. People trying to rip their knees with a heel hook, knee bars, all these different, you know, people trying to go for arm bars, dislocating the arm, kimuras, that's the shoulder, you know what I mean? But I get it. Like, it's just dangerous. Mixed martial arts is so dangerous, bro. You know what I mean? As far as like banning techniques, I don't think they could do that because it would just kind of be, you're kind of taken away from the sport. You know what I mean? It's just, we all know as martial artists what we're signing up for and what we're getting into when we enter into the dangers of the ring, you know? So, I mean, it is what it is. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy though. Like, obviously as fighters, like when you step in, when you're in the moment, you like, boom, you got to attack this guy and you got to hit him with everything you got. You're pretty much trying to rip their throat out. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, oh man. But then when it's all done though, you're like, oh man, because you can see the moment, you know what I mean? And many of these fighters, like whenever it's done though, you got to still show respect. And there's that respect, like whenever it was done over the weekend, you know, with the kneecap kick, you know what I mean? I was glad to see that both fighters still, you know, showed good respect though, and they had that moment like that, you know what I mean? Because there's the humility and the humbleness with
Yeah.
that, you know what I mean? Because yeah, it's like we're just fighters. That's what we're doing. We are here as prize fighters. We are prize fighters. We are fighting for the prize. You win, you get 2 paychecks. You lose, you get 1 paycheck. You know what I mean? So it's like in that moment, you got to do whatever it takes to win. If that means the kneecap kicks, I guess that meant the kneecap kicks. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. But I was happy that at least both fighters they fist bumped. You know what I'm saying? Afterwards, and wish a speedy recovery. You know what I'm saying? When it be like that, you know what I'm saying? Hey, you live to fight another day. You know what I'm saying? If I say something on that.
Yeah, man. I think that's what matters a lot. And, it's pretty valuable to, learn your lessons from that thing. And yeah, you're right, to be honest, because it's really difficult to practically change the unified rules of MMA as we know it. And second, you do know what you're signing up for. So that brings me to what I wanted to talk to you about next, right? It's, talking about uh, you know, when you train for your fights in MMA, you have to prepare for a lot of things, right? And you were talking about this a second ago, the armbar and the kimura, right? You have to be aware. That's why you spar. You have to be aware of the amount of pain that you can be exposed to, the kind of submissions. You can style on people with your jiu-jitsu so much so that you're even teaching it, right? So when when we're watching many of these fights, I mean, the most recent example in MMA was probably when Charles Oliveira got that armbar on Tony Ferguson, or even when we saw one of them from the Danaher Death Squad. I forget his name. He was in this jiu-jitsu matchup, and he was put in. I forget his name. Gordon Ryan, right? Gordon
Mm.
Ryan was in this jiu-jitsu matchup, and he got caught in an armbar for about 15 seconds. He's screaming, he's shouting, and it's still the fight still the match is still going on. They're still playing, and he gets out of it eventually. He pops his arm back into his socket, and they just keep going at it. So when it comes to these potential danger points in a fighter's career, you've been in these situations. You've been in situations where you're exposed to a lot of pain. You saw George St. Pierre, your idol. He tapped out to Matt Hughes to strikes because he wanted to protect himself from brain damage. So when you're in such a fight situation, what are you thinking whenever you're taking these blows? How do I get out of it? Should I just tap out of it? Or what's going through your head? You have to mentally prepare yourself while you're sparring for the pain that's going to be inflicted. So when you mentioned, this is what you're signing up for. So when you're dealing with that mental load, because in between rounds you have about a minute. So could you talk a little bit more about that mentality that you have to get yourself into? We spoke about the mentality throughout your tough house as a whole, but during these fight camps, during the fight itself, how do you mentally prepare yourself for what's coming to you physically?
Well, I'll speak on the fight camp, then I'll go to the day of the fight too, right?
Yeah.
Like in the fight camp, how do you prepare and deal with what you're going to have to deal with physically. In the fight camp, that is why it is so important to put yourself in uncomfortable situations with, like, goes back to what we talked about way earlier in the interview, or the fight simulation with the Volkanovski boys, and I still do it all the time now. The fight simulation is a great one of pushing your conditioning, and you pretty much, I call it with the boys, to say you have to push yourself to the darkness. You have to push yourself to the dark place. You got to go in deep into the fire. That's what you must do in training. So when you're in the training camp, you do that. Oh, you do that on the weekly basis. You got to push yourself, go to the darkness, go to that dark place where it just makes you want to throw up. It makes you want to, you feel it. It hurts. It hurts, the pain. So you got to go there in your preparation. So that way, you know, you've been there over and over again. So that way, when you get there in the fight, you don't shy away from it. You know, you've prepared yourself and you are comfortable in the darkness. So that goes into the training. That's important. As far as the fight day goes, that one is another animal in itself. As far as I'll speak on my emotions, like, yeah, I mean, I always have, you have to do your best to calm yourself. At least that's what I say to myself. Like, calm yourself down and, like, just focus. Remember your training. Remember your training. There's always going to be that those butterflies, that healthy amount of fear that you're going to feel in your chest. That fear, it comes from the awareness of, yeah, like, anything could happen, and that's pain. People get knocked out. People can get their leg hurt, like you're saying. People could get knocked out, or people get their fucking bones broken or their face broken. We've seen it before. You know, one mistake and you could be looking up at the lights. You know what I'm saying? And that is the danger that comes in MMA. And that's why, like, before the fights, you know, the day of the fight, man, is, you know, I'm like, oh man, my stomach feels a little funny. It knows that it's about to fight or something. My body knows it's gonna fight. So then it's like, okay, then you got to do your best to just channel that emotion and channel that fire and focus it and unleash it the right way inside the octagon. You know what I'm saying? And so that's that type of paradox inside on the day of the fight too. You know what I'm saying? Is like all that training. The training will help you. You know, you train hard, then you'll be able to feel a little bit more comfortability knowing that I did everything I could. Now I just got to keep my hands up tonight and just make it happen. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, so I mean that is pretty interesting because a lot of fighters have their different methods of going about it. Now, the second thing I wanted to talk to you about, I mean, you mentioned how it's a little easier for you. You know, you spoke about the weight cutting, right? You spoke about how you had to help Vinny with, as you like to call him, with his weight cuts back at the Tough House. So, have you had very difficult weight cuts ever before? If so, can you detail that a little bit more?
Yeah, yeah. I definitely, in my younger days, I had every weight cut I did was very difficult when I was younger. All of my many of my amateur fights, all of my amateur MMA fights. So when I was 17 and when I was 18, all of my amateur MMA fights were at flyweight, so 125 pounds. Obviously, I was smaller than too, skinnier. I was a young teenage boy, but the weight cuts though were still difficult, man, at 25. So those are the ones that pushed me the most. I would have to cut weight in the sauna for a couple of days. Obviously, too, I think maybe back then, maybe my knowledge of weight cutting was not as advanced back then yet. So I was still keeping it kind of maybe on some old school. I had a good weight cut though, because I got some advice from many of my coaches who got advice from their nutritionists, you know. So like I just think that I was doing a lot of weight cutting to get to 25 or something. But so those weight cuts, they pushed me hardcore when I was going to 25. That also motivated me a lot to when I became a pro fighter to go up to bantamweight, get a little bit bigger for the bantamweight division, and just have more of a medium cut. You know what I'm saying? And that was kind of that topic on that. So like I cut about a medium amount. I would like to think, you know, it's a good amount, not too little, not too much. I like to think it's somewhere right, just right. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And
you
I
still
like it like that.
exactly. So you still do seem like a big guy for your division. I mean, you did pick up some mass to get into the 135-pound division. At least that's what we could see on the cameras during the tough episodes. So do you think that 135 for now is the division for you? Like, you know your body the best. So do you think that maybe in the future you are always going to want to stick to this 135-pound division, or do you want to maybe go up to Coach Alex's division, the 145-pound division, or maybe even back to your old division, the flyweight division? Do you see yourself ever moving up or down?
Yeah, I definitely. I mean, I guess if I could just share it on the small. I love bantamweight. I love fighting at bantamweight. You know what I mean? Bantamweight for sure is my weight class. You know, so I love fighting at bantamweight. If you know, if one day I just got crazy, you know what I'm saying? I was like, oh, you know what? I know that there's other options and other challenges. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you know, I can see 25 happening again, maybe one day too. You know what I'm saying? But you know, only we see what the future holds. You know.
Hell yeah, hell yeah. I mean, that's something that we do look forward to. And, we've seen a lot of fighters, struggle with weight cut. And there's a lot of people who do try to make these quick cuts leading up to their fights. So when you do, I mean, I'm sure you've had to deal with a lot of people from your camp trying to make weight for their fights. So is there anything that when you're observing these fights, do you see anything that they're doing wrong that can be corrected during these fight camps as they go through, that when it comes to the weight cut, of course?
Hmm. When it comes to the weight cut, you know, I mean, I think we live in such an age now, you know what I mean? Like where, you know, the knowledge is out there, right? So whether you find some of this knowledge maybe on YouTube or even knowledge from word of mouth, like, oh, you ask your coach and your coach, he knows a high level nutritionist, or maybe your coach is a high level fighter and they've been through the process, you know what I mean? Uh, so like I think the knowledge is out there, but I think if I were to say one topic on it, I just always think that hey, number one, most important when you're cutting that weight, it's important to when you cut the weight, do it properly, but the recovery, see, that's where you got to make sure that you recover right with all of your fluids and you know what I mean, your foods that you're going to put back into your body, you know what I mean? So that's just knowing your body, being organized in what have you been eating in your training camp, you know what I mean? So like always make sure you just stay disciplined on that. That's important, you know what I mean? Making that weight is half the battle, you know what I mean? So it's like I give that advice to like, you know, any aspiring fighters that coming up in the future, you know what I'm saying? They're coming up in the ranks, you know what I'm saying? They're like, hey, make sure that your nutrition is always on point, you know what I'm saying? Eating what's gonna be right for you to keep the engine going, and that like, you know, whenever you cut that weight, make sure you recover properly as well, because
Yeah.
it'd be a waste to have such a great training. You have such a great training camp and a great preparation, and then you kind of messed it up the last day just because you didn't drink your fluids right or eat your food right. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
yeah, the weight cutting, you need to know the science behind it. Study.
Yeah. And final question. I don't want to keep you back for longer. This is already probably, let's take a look at the time here. Yeah, this is probably the longest podcast we've had on the show. So I think that's another award we can give
I
you.
love it. I
Love
love
it.
it.
Already breaking records, Ricky. So yeah, final question. When do you want to get back into the octagon? Ideally, what suits you the best? What's next for Ricky? When does he want to get back? When are we gonna see that finishing move?
Yes, for sure, for sure. So I say when y'all gonna see me next, it's gonna be a surprise.
Ah,
Oh Lord,
oh, damn
oh
it,
Lord, and
Ricky.
Lord. And then so that's what I say on that one. It's gonna be a surprise when y'all see me next. But if I stay in the vision to leave it with a smile, I guess you know, I definitely envision my next fight be an exciting fight, you know, exciting type of matchup, big matchup, and let's do it in an arena with a crowd. I think that'd be
Hey,
really great. I would not be able to resist, you know. Oh man, a packed arena. Oh man, this is crazy. I can
yeah,
only
man.
imagine, you know. So like,
Yeah, man.
yeah. So that'd be something really cool. You know what I mean? I just say that right now.
We all want to see that finishing move in front of a big crowd. But yeah, that's all the questions I do have for you. But before we do close, there's something everyone loves seeing about Ricky Tercios that I cannot possibly end this podcast without. It's getting the final finishing move for the podcast. I gotta end it on a high note. We gotta end it. Ricky, could you
Yeah.
could you close it out for us? Could you close it
Yeah,
out?
I close it
With
out.
that?
I close it out for us right now. You know, who we got over here.
Hell
This
yeah.
this one right here, right? Ultimate move. Shiku Hakugen.
Yes.
Let's
Yeah,
go.
man, let's go. Hell yeah, baby. Ladies and gentlemen, this was Ricky Tercios. I've been your host, Suryansh Basumalik. This was another episode of the What Now Show. We had today, ladies and gentlemen, from just and we called him an MMA fighter as we introduced him, but he's an MMA fighter, a teacher, an author, and an actor, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Ricky. Thank you so much for joining in. A final message for the Ricky Tercios fans out there before you do head out.
Hey, yeah, no, hey, my final message for all the fans, I just say, hey, thank you to all the fans for sure, all around the world. You know what I'm saying? This wouldn't be possible without the fans. You know what I mean? So hey, it's incredible. So I just say, hey, thank you to all the fans for sure. You know what I mean? Much love to all the people. That's what I say.
Hell
Hey,
yeah, baby.
much love to you too, Suryansh. You
Hey,
know what I'm
thanks,
saying?
thanks
I
so much.
appreciate you, brother, for having me on the show, man. It was a great
Hey
time
man, I
chopping it up.
appreciate you for coming on, man. Mad respect to you, and I really look forward to seeing where you go on next. I really look forward to having you on sometime soon as well. It's been amazing. I really do wish you the best with your training camp, whatever you're doing when you with your teaching and with what you're doing, working hard, getting yourself ready for the next fight. And I really do hope you do keep this championship mentality that you've been talking about. It's amazing to hear about. It's amazing to see. And I do really wish you the best. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll see you on the next one. That's what that was.